I'm Eileen, and this is week 2. Okay, so last week the Trump administration, by way of Carolyn Leavitt, the press secretary, removed a wire service position from the White House press briefing room. This was done as a bit of a gambit, but largely in response to an order from a federal judge, Trevor McFadden, who is a Trump appointee, by the way, who ordered that the administration restore full access to the Associated Press under First Amendment grounds. The AP was banned back in mid-February because they refused to start calling the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America. McFadden, and I'm reading now, in his decision stated, under the First Amendment, if the government opens its doors to some journalists, be it to the Oval Office, the East Room, or elsewhere, it cannot then shut those doors to other journalists because of their viewpoints. You know, back in 1922, a political party based in Germany started using the term Lügenpresse, or lying press, as part of their propaganda campaign against what they deemed Marxist, Jewish, and foreign press. By 1939, German domestic press was entirely controlled by the government under the direction of Joseph Goebbels. The term lying press was so useful to the Nazi Party and its allies, the Axis powers, its supporters, that Spain's Francisco Franco, he used his own propaganda machine to accuse the Jewish lying press of disinformation after the bombing of Guernica by the Condor Legion during the Spanish Civil War in 1937. And it's clear that even today, in one form or another, whatever you want to call it, the term hasn't gone away. So now the administration is removing a seat from the press room that is reserved for wire services like AP, Reuters, and Bloomberg. And the White House is claiming that Carolyn Leavitt will use her day-to-day discretion to decide who gets in the room. Last week, on mic, from the podium of the White House press office, the press secretary welcomed a gentleman named Tim Pool, who is an influencer, podcast host. He has ties to Tenet Media. I'm not entirely clear on how robust his ties are. Tenet Media is under indictment by the Southern District of New York right now because of a $10 million scheme that was funneled from Russia to the company in an alleged attempt to fuel a pro-Russian narrative across its platforms. Now, as a note, Pool and several other people that are affiliated with Tenet Media have released statements claiming to be the victims of the Russian scheme, and that's fine, and maybe that's entirely true. But it's equally worth noting where the discretion of the press secretary seems to be leading is that pro-administration influencers, podcasters, reporters, and I'll use that term lightly in this case because many of these people are not reporters, are being allowed in instead of globally vetted journalists who went to school for journalism and have a background in journalism or law or, global affairs. Now, I'm not one for censorship of any kind, so go ahead and let Tim Pool and anybody else that wants in the room. I just think that ultimately this day-to-day discretion and cutting of wire services and constantly fighting with media outlets is a road toward government-controlled media. And look at what happens when you have that. I mean, just look at all of the negative press coverage there is coming out of North Korea about Kim Jong-un. Oh, there isn't any because all the media is controlled by the government in those places. And if it's not, if it's an opposition group, they are silenced with jail or death. I think it's horrifying that we are even glancing in that direction. Any glance at impropriety in this way is not what we should be looking towards for America's future. The truth will out. We can still hope.